Hey, how you doing? It's me again. Uh, and I'm continuing this debate about evolution. Okay, I'm gonna start out by talking about the fact that a word already has been spread with no laws passed, no force used. People, it's not really a rule so much as an idea. I shouldn't have said rule to begin with. I should have just called it an idea. But anyways, I saw this mass media story on one of those main networks about an entire family that had this genetic disorder, and instead of asking the family why do you keep having kids, they encouraged it by throwing pity on them, saying, and they started playing this piano music in the background, and it's like, dude, they really need to stop having kids. I mean, those poor kids, because their parents aren't all there, and they have to be raised by them, and it's like, why isn't, no one taught me in school either that, people like that shouldn't have kids or that it's wrong or immoral. But if they had taught me that, people like that would be able to think twice before having kids. Because really, they already are spreading rules without using force. The rule that it's okay to have kids when you're messed up like that and you have these genetic defects. And, that's really wrong because those kids are going to have to suffer a lot now. And it would have made a huge difference if we could change the mass media perception of these things, what they're teaching us in school, and, maybe make a new word for my belief. If this isn't eugenics, maybe we should make a new word for what it is I believe then, because I don't want to be associated with Hitler or any of that crap, but spreading the word can work. Look at all these fake patriots. They're like, oh, I'm so patriotic because I love my government. Like, there's a lot of people out there who are just like that, and someone had to spread the word to make people trust in their own government, even though every government on earth was spread by the sword and has a history of invasion and oppression of other nations or of the native peoples of the country it now runs. Yet people still think their government is the good guy because, they spread knowledge of the few good things about those governments. And people get to listen to that, At 237, you said they're already aware. Well, that's good enough for me, but, still, I mean, it would make a huge difference in, if the mass media and the education system could accept these things, because a lot of these things are non-violently spread to people through mass media and education. A lot of opinions, really. And now you made that graph. Well, say 80% of the people I hand that pamphlet to rip up that pamphlet up. Well, you know what? Well, here's 25% of the week that, would be cut out of the equation. Say 20% of them, 20% of them decide to, go along with my example. Well, in the ideal situation, that would mean 12.5% area right there is where the new middle line would be. Okay, you see? But instead of 25%, it's 5%. See? 25% becomes 5% because the other 20% ripped that pamphlet up. So there's 5% of people getting cut out of the equation. So instead of 12.5% of people not breeding, or no, 12.5% shift in the middle line, well, you still get a 2.5% shift after a generation, okay? From the tiny amount of people who chose not to breed because they've been educated properly on the ill effects that their breeding could cause. Alright? So, this is that new middle line right there. Okay? Move 2.5% of the whole length down the line, and there you go. Because as soon as you eliminate this portion, this little portion here, that automatically moves this line a little bit more toward the center. And because of that, this line is always going to be in the center. It's just the new definition of center. The definition of center itself gets moved a little bit this way, right there. And, you know, all I need is that little amount of people, and, you know, that will affect it a tiny little bit. Because, you know, that includes me. I told you that, you know, I found there was this female who wanted to have kids with me, but she had a health problem that I had. So I told her, we're not going to have kids together. I refuse to. And so, you know, if it can work with me, yeah, it can work with anyone else. So the definition of weak becomes applied more liberally when, you know, this little fragment here no longer breeds, you know. So that's all. Have fun, everyone.